I would like to introduce the chief guest for this session, Mr. Shevan Goonathilaka. Mr. Shevan Goonathilaka is the Director, CEO of MillenniumIT ESP, a complete enterprise solutions provider that has helped hundreds of enterprise customers around the world for more than 2 decades to solve complex business and technology problems. He had his primary education at Royal College, Polonnaruwa, and then moved to St. Joseph's College, Colombo 10. He earned his bachelor's in Computing and Information Systems from Manchester Metropolitan University, UK, and also holds a master's in Business Administration from University of Sheffield, UK. With 25 years of experience in the global IT and telecommunication companies prior to MillenniumIT ESP, he was the President and Chief Operating Officer at WSO2, an open source integration company with more than 500 customers spread across 70 countries, where he was responsible for running global operations, optimizing the execution and driving profitability. Shevan has also held positions at Deutsche Telekom UK, managing delivery and development of mobile digital products across the T-Mobile footprint in Europe, as well as worked for Virtusa Corporation, where he held various technical and management positions in Sri Lanka, US, and UK. He is leading large technology programs for global clients with responsibility for revenue, growth, and delivery. Please join me in welcoming Shevan Goonathilaka to deliver the convocation address.
Thank you, Chancellor. Chancellor, members of the Management Board of SLIIT, senior academics, lecturers, students, parents, and most importantly, all of you who are graduating today after years of hard work. Preparing for this convocation address, I was wondering where I should start, and if there's anything that I can impart after a couple of decades of experience in the industry now. I noticed most of you all are masters graduates today, obviously experienced to some extent as well, and some bachelor's degree holders today as well. So I started going back memory lane to how I started my career and progress to what I do now. And I thought I'll probably talk about some of the lessons that I learned over the years, in addition to also now sitting on the other side of the fence as an employer and the CEO of a relatively large technology company in Sri Lanka. So as a child, someone asked me, what I want to be. 5 years or 8 years old, I used to say I want to be a doctor, and more specifically, I want to be a surgeon. And that was due to inspiration from my father, who is a surgeon, and at the time was serving in the rural areas of Polonnaruwa, and also this was during the war. So obviously serving war-torn Sri Lanka in the north and the east, and obviously me as a child seeing a lot of what he did and how he helped the people in those areas inspired me in a lot of ways to be a doctor myself. And so being a surgeon obviously was known as Surgeon Mahatya. It was a small hospital in base hospital Polonnaruwa at the time, and then anyone asked me, I also wanted to be a Surgeon Mahatya. So time went by, obviously, and eventually, got your O-levels. I did really well at my O-levels. I got 9 distinctions at the time. So brimming in confidence, went on to do my A-levels, bioscience. And obviously with age, certain distractions kick in, you get playful, and so on. And at the back of my mind, I knew I'm not going to make it as a doctor, right? But then suddenly you do your A-levels, and then the results coming, and then it suddenly hits you that there's nowhere close to getting into university to become a doctor, right? So what next now? The only thing I had thought about for myself as a career and my future was to be a doctor. I had no idea about any other career in my life. I had friends who wanted to start doing SEMA, then chartered accountancy, following this diploma, that diploma. I didn't even know what it meant. I started doing SEMA myself. Again, I didn't know. I was not really sure what it meant. So at the time, my parents actually, they got to know about this, the newly started degree program at the Informatics Institute of Computer Studies, IIT it's called now, offering a degree from the Manchester Metropolitan University in UK. Again, had no idea about computers at the time. We didn't have a computer at home. The only piece of high technology at home was the television and the radio, and what's called mini component system, I think, with the cassette decks and the CD players and all. And so I had no idea, what I was getting into again, right? Computers, had never touched a computer, but then, my father convinced me to do that. But one thing I did realize later on is that although I've been talking about, being wanting to be a doctor and so on, it was just due to inspiration. I don't know if I really wanted to, because if you're looking back at it now, I didn't work hard enough to achieve that. But what I think my parents noticed in me that time was that there was an engineer inside me. Because all my pastime, my hobby was basically breaking and making those radios and the TVs. Right? And sometimes if any malfunction on the radio, you just take it into parts, take it in a bag, take it to the electronics repair shop. This is the time that UHF TV came into Sri Lanka. I was, I got a design for the antenna somewhere, started making antennas, started selling it to all my relatives at, I can't remember how much now. And so on, right? There was a Vidusala, there was a magazine called the Vidusala paper. There was electronics designs in that. I started, building circuits, and this was all during my childhood. But I never thought of having a career in forget software engineering or any sort of engineering at the time. It was just fun. Right? But then I think this is what my parents saw in me, that there was an engineer hidden in me rather than being a doctor. So started the degree program. Obviously, 4 years went by, my internship, graduated rather well. I started my career, but again, get to a position where knowing, you've done well in your degree now, but what next? And this is where some of you are now, some of you are graduated as masters as well. But then, started a job as a software engineer. I did that for a few years, Java programming, then thought I'll try out database programming. Started doing certifications in database administration, Oracle administration, became a database administrator, wasn't really interested in that either. I started doing business analysis, I started doing quality, QA engineering, and went on to do project management after that, after a few years. Right? And I think that is where it started turning around for me, because I started getting recognized and I started doing well as providing leadership, building teams, and getting work done, getting projects executed and delivered. And that led me to take on more program management roles, and then eventually operations management, starting to run operations in companies, managing companies, and now to what I'm doing now. So I think the point I'm trying to make here is basically, regardless of what stage of you are in your career, and I'm looking at you, you are all, pretty much in the early stage of your careers. If you're still not sure exactly what you want to do in your career, that's okay. Right? And I think, especially at this early part of this career of yours, you should, and I think you can do some experimenting as well. Try different things. See what else is out there. Right? And before you settle in, this is because you need to find what you're passionate about. Because until you find what you're passionate about, your best is not going to come out as well. And this is what I said when I'm looking at my in the positions that I've held and in my colleagues that I've worked with. I have seen people who have settled into doing something in their careers at a very early stage, and may not have really figured out that that's what they really want to do in their careers. But now they've gone into they're in a later stage of their lives in their careers, and they can't make that switch now. Because they are committed, they have families, children, mortgages to pay, loans to pay. They can't take a hit on their income levels and so on, right? But this is something they could have done if they really figured out that this is not really what they want to do, right? So I just wanted to pass on that message that if you are not really sure, that's okay. I think spend some time, figure out, try different things, read about different things, try out. If you want to switch jobs in 2 years, try it out. Because I think, again, compared to even my time, even in the IT profession now, there are hundreds of things that you can do. Right? And we talk about only quality and business analysis and so on. Now you look at it from AI to cloud computing to computer vision to so many things that's out there. Right? So find your passion. Find your passion, because that is what is going to take you places with time to come. And next of all, obviously, again, especially at the early stage of your career, I think especially the first 5, maybe 10 years of your career should be that foundation that you lay. Again, mainly because your commitments in life are probably just starting off now, right? And you probably can afford to spend that time to learn. Right? It's not just because you finish your degree and your academic career now doesn't mean that your learning needs to stop now. Right? There's a lot more that you can learn out there. When you go into a job, see who you can learn from, who you can get mentored from. Right? Start building your profile. Right? A lot of you are master's graduates as well, which means obviously you're experienced. You have done some academic work. You've done some work in the industry now. You can start building your profile, building your own brand. Right? From writing white papers to going and speaking in different conferences to even writing a blog, running webinars yourself, and these are some of the things that you can do yourselves. Right? And I get CVs, and when people come for interviews, and sometimes on their profile you see all these things that they've done, which is very impressive to me. Right? Then rather than people who have just gone through academics or just not done anything at all, just worked, right? Because that shows the drive, that shows the passion that these people have. When they come into work. So focus on building your brand, building your network, and working it, And again, I think you see people who, think they've gone through, 4 years of hard work and a master's and so on. Now, it's time to have fun now and enjoy life. Yes, definitely, you need to do that as well. But then, again, this time, the 5-10 years of your foundation of your career, is that time that you'll be able to invest into building that future for yourself, right? And it's going to be definitely hard work. It's not going to be a 9-to-5 job. Spend that time you can to learn, to be curious, to read, and so on. And you can easily get distracted as well. And I think especially in this part of your career, you'll tend to hear about what your colleagues are earning. Sometimes even double what you're earning now, right? You'll hear about careers who are holding large, big fancy titles. Some of them are getting international exposure. They are traveling and so on. But once you find what you want to do and what your passion is and what you want to settle into, then it is a balance that you need to make, right? And obviously money is important, and especially in this day and age, in the situation we are going through in Sri Lanka, it is a sensitive topic. Right? Cost of living is very high. You need money as well. You start to have all these commitments in your life. You want to make some savings, parents to look after and so on. So money is important, but then it's about finding that balance, right? You're looking at your career now. In terms of what you want to establish and what you want to try and achieve, when you start getting into senior positions. Are you willing to compromise, say, 20,000, 30,000 rupees to a job that is going to give you that exposure that you're going to need for in 5 years' time? Learn from those seniors who are there, right? Giving that leadership, the knowledge, the exposure, and so on, right? But you need to find that balance, right? And once you find that, regardless of what your friends are doing, what your friends are earning, what the titles that they're holding, can be your classmates, can be your batchmates, and so on, you need to be focused. You shouldn't get distracted, right? Because money, titles, travel, all of that will just flow in, right? You just figure out, lay the foundation for yourselves, and this will flow in. Right? And then next point is just about fulfillment, about satisfaction in terms of what you do. Right? And all of us, and I'm very guilty of this as well. You start getting into work, you getting into day in, day out, from projects to meetings to calls to travel to firefighting, right? And it just becomes a rat race, right? But what we forget is you take a step back and look at what is it all for, right? Have you actually helped anyone in this world, in this society? Right? And that's something that we tend to neglect in this rat race very often. But in the little work that you start doing, right, to put a smile on someone's face and extending that kindness, that satisfaction that you get just goes beyond, right? And I'll just give you one recent example, and some of you may be knowing this as well. So MillenniumIT ESP, the company I work for, partnered with Dialogue about 6 months ago to bring you, and some of you used it today as well, the Fuel Pass, the QR code application that you use now to pump fuel. Right, and this was done within 2 weeks at a time where we were going through a massive crisis in the country. Right, we all went through that. We were in queues for days. We had taxi drivers who were, running a 3-wheeler for 2 days or 1 day, staying in a queue for 6 days so that they can pump petrol again and feed their families. Right, there are people, schools were closed, economy was coming into a halt. 16 people died in those queues. Right, but then the fact that we spent that time and effort to create this, not a complex application, right? A simple application, so that the country can get back on its feet, those people can start earning a livelihood, right? The satisfaction that project, that being involved in that project gave me and my team was immense, right? And there was no commercials involved in this project, no money involved at all. It is just pure effort, energy that went into that project, right? And we knew that people stopped dying in those queues. Right? And people started, there were all these people who were using transport as a mechanism to provide livelihoods, to feed their children, will be able to do that again now. Right? But that is the satisfaction I'm talking about. In whatever you do, to figure out, is there some way that you can do something for this society as well, right? And extend that kindness. And lastly, significant challenge that I am facing today as a CEO, and not only, I talk about a technology company, but I'm sure even the faculty of SLIIT is facing the challenge of migration now, right? We have technology professionals, from bankers to doctors to nurses to teachers, all, massive exodus happening in this country, right? In a way, we are faced with a dilemma. Me as a CEO, I have commitments to make to customers. We have challenges in delivering when we lose our people. But on the flip side, given the situation of the country, I understand that as well, right? And so when someone comes and tells me now that they want to leave the country, they want to migrate in the interest of their family, their children, their career, their education, and so on, at this particular time, there's nothing much. We try to encourage them and so on, but it is hard. It is a hard challenge to deal with. Me, myself, I've been, lived and worked outside for about 12 years. There are a lot of pros for, traveling the world, seeing what is out there, learning, getting that exposure, learning from some of these more developed economies, getting that knowledge, understanding how cultures work, dealing with cultures, improving our communication and so on. A lot of benefits, definitely. Right? And for me, honestly, I gained a lot, I think, during my travels. But after 12 years, I decided to return. And a lot of people ask me why I returned. Obviously, it's a comfortable life and so on. So for me, the simple answer is this is home. And for me, it is about more fulfilling life in terms of being with your family, your friends, your society that you're used to. Right, going to, it can be just birthday parties, to weddings, to even funerals, right? It's about life. You're celebrating life in so many ways, which honestly I couldn't relate to. Being in these countries definitely had benefits to me, myself, in terms of enhancing my career and so on. But then starting to think about family, I wanted my children to, start experiencing their grandparents and vice versa and so on, right? And these are reasons that I wanted to come back. But again, and I travel a lot on work. Every time I'm landing into Sri Lanka, I look out of the window and you see how beautiful this country is. And it's a shame. I haven't seen, traveling to so many countries, I haven't seen such a beautiful country when you start, either direction that you come into the country now. Right? And it's really a shame that the situation that we are in today. But you are a minority of educated people in this country now. Right? And you probably are familiar with the quote that Nelson Mandela made once, where education is the best weapon to change the world, and in this case, our country. Right? So my advice to you is go if you must. Experience the world, but come back. Right? As I said, you're a minority of educated people. This country needs you, we need you. So come back someday, maybe 2 years, maybe 5 years from now, gain as much as you can, but come and help rebuild this country. Right. So with that, I'll leave you with that. I'm sure you're waiting to start your celebrations now after graduating. So congratulations to all of you. I wish you all the best in your next step in your careers. And thank you very much. Yeah.